The German-Swiss company, Liebherr Group, is known around the world for being one of the largest construction machine manufacturers. They are known for their high-quality products and high-end technologies, giving them one of the best reputations in the industry. Since its founding, they have been able to expand into all kinds of product segments that even reach the average consumer's home. This family-owned and run company was built to last, having had a fiercely independent and wise founder who has passed on his knowledge to his children. However, they were not always this billion-dollar monster of a company. They have very humble beginnings. The Liebherr Group was once a company of one. Today they have an estimated 54,000 employees around the world, a figure that Hans Liebherr, born April 1st of 1915 in Kaufbeuren, South Germany, would never have been able to imagine. Today he has a long legacy as an inventor, entrepreneur, and leader. Growing up, his independent streak was fostered by his father, Willy Liebherr, who believed everyone should think for themselves and take responsibility for themselves. It was after his exams as a master builder that he decided to turn his attention to managing at the age of 23. It was at the firm he first started developing his inventions and innovations, and practiced his one-day legendary business sense. When Hans Liebherr was drafted for World War II, he fought under the Army Group South in the German-Soviet War. After the war, there was a boom in the economy, something that Hans would benefit greatly from. While he was still in South Germany managing his parents' building firm, he was also inspired by the growing need for machinery and tools that could help in the reconstruction of domestic and commercial buildings across his country. Hans completed and submitted his first patent for the mobile tower crane in 1949, an invention that would pave the way to creating the company Hans Liebherr Maschinenfabrik, which would one day be the Liebherr company we know today. The tower crane was a machine that Hans Liebherr envisioned as a way to help rebuild the extensive and devastating damage caused by World War II. With the help of tradesmen, design engineers, and his own brilliance, he created the TK-10, which could be transported and set up easily anywhere it was needed. The convenience and speed of the tower crane Liebherr designed would set the new company on a path of greatness. As Hans worked on new models of the crane to better service their various needs and wants, he would branch out into manufacturing even more construction machines and tools. The next great leap for this company came when Hans rented a cable excavator in the early 1950s and realized that the design of the machine had some flaws that he could work on and address himself. The main thing he noticed was the bad power-to-weight ratio, something he would know much about after his schooling in engineering. This would give birth to one of his most beautiful creations, the hydraulic excavator. In only 8 months, Hans Liebherr would present Europe with its first hydraulic excavator, the L300, which when measured against a typical excavator was 4 times lighter than its nearest competitor. It was in the years that followed that series production would pick up and hydraulic excavators would grow in popularity. In 1954, another change would rock this new company and a new branch of manufacturing would be added. We speak of the refrigerator. This new venture may seem to come out of nowhere after all. Where does a man who specializes in construction machinery manufacturing get the idea to start making refrigerators? Well, like many things in Hans Liebherr's life, it would be a random encounter with a branch manager he meets at the local bank that sets him on this new side quest. The branch manager had let Hans know that a refrigerator manufacturing factory was recently put up for sale. Of course, just being aware of a business opportunity was not enough to persuade Hans Liebherr, so he took a closer look at the sales figures and market potential. After much research and study, Liebherr came to the conclusion that Germany was a market ripe for a boom in the appliances sector. At this time in history, only 10% of the German population even had a refrigerator. If you think he immediately ran to purchase this refrigerator factory, then you would be wrong. Instead, Hans decided that he would rather build his own production factories, facilities that would be under his design and control. This independent streak would have him set up his own refrigerator factory in the Oxenhausen plant and make his first refrigerator in 1954. The Liebherr company had a very successful entry into the world of refrigeration, and the production of the line would begin soon after. 2 years later, Liebherr would once again expand and begin to offer the production and transport of concrete. He would set up a base for this operation in Bad Schussenried. At this point, some might believe that Hans Liebherr could not quite focus his attention on any single thing, that, like a mad genius, his mind had to keep leaping from one thing to the next. However, this is actually the mark of a very shrewd businessman. What he was really doing, starting up all these branch manufacturing sites, was about diversification. Not only has he been able to consistently find gaps in various markets, he has been able to create a way to address these needs. He makes sure to keep them independent of each other as well. The very definition of not keeping all of your eggs in one basket. Next comes his boldest move yet. He expands far beyond the country of Germany and moves his company to Europe and Africa in 1958. This makes it their first international factory. Next, they set their heart on North American and British markets, so they set up camp in Killarney. From here, they sell all of their typical construction machinery and make a great deal of profit. Here is another sign of Hans Liebherr's mind for business as he reinvests all his money back into his company, allowing him to expand as they move into the 1960s. It is in the 1960s that Hans decides he's had enough of all these earth-crawling and dirt-moving machines and sets his sights on the skies. The Liebherr company moves into aerospace next. Hans accurately predicted that the business of aircraft technology was only going to grow over time. So he established the Liebherr Aerotechnik GmbH in 1960, whose goal was to internally manufacture airplane part prototypes and to eventually make their own systems and market those. This would upgrade the company as a whole into a system provider. It was between the decades of 1960 to 1970 that Liebherr grew into an international conglomerate. At this point in the history of the company, 20 years have passed, and they have made huge leaps in progress from a company that sold a convenient tower crane to conquering the skies. Global expansion was a goal that was very important to Hans Liebherr, as it further solidified his company's name and brand as one that could be respected and relied upon across all cultural and country lines. He would soon make headway in Austria, Ireland, and France to produce more earth crawlers and excavators. The excavators especially were key to making their way into new countries with their advanced equipment. After all of these incredible accomplishments, Hans was finally recognized for his contribution to the field of engineering and was awarded an honorary doctorate in the mid-1960s. To this day, he is known as Dr. Hans Liebherr in the Hall of Fame of the Association of Equipment Manufacturers website. His fostering of innovation and excellence has not been forgotten in the least. Even when the economy was having problems, the company managed to thrive, and from 1970 onward, they would restructure and expand even more. The next decade and into 1980, Liebherr would build 2 different 300,000 square footage worth of production facilities and offices in Virginia. Liebherr America Inc. would be born and focus on customer service given its new and improved closeness with its main customers. Liebherr America would supply the North American market with a wide and expansive range of construction equipment like hydraulic excavators, wheel loaders, crawlers, and machine tools. They would also improve upon their aeronautical equipment and material handling. In 1974, the Liebherr Group would establish new companies in Brazil and Canada. The increase in demand from their European facilities would see them build more production sites in Austria and Switzerland. This constant expansion and building would see them creating thousands of new jobs, which would only grow as they grew in power and scale. Even with all their shuffling and restructuring as they made way for their new companies and services, they remained at the head of the pack when it came to technological advances. In the year 1977, the Liebherr company welcomed the LTM 1025, which was the very first all-terrain mobile crane that was able to combine off-road and on-road use. This incredible crane, the first of its kind, would have a telescopic arm that was over 24 meters long and had a load-bearing capacity of 25 tons. This heavy-duty crane was able to open the door to dozens of usages, and the next model, the LTM 1030, would only refine these traits. This move has now marked the company as not only powerful, but also a leader with something special to offer the world. Soon, competitors would be making their own models to compete with Liebherr's meteoric rise. They would undergo significant change again in the early 80s when they decided to divide the company in two, one German enterprise and the other a Swiss enterprise. In the back of his mind, Hans Liebherr was always looking for the best way to organize and structure his company in the best hope for preserving and maintaining its success. All of these companies would fall under the umbrella name of the Liebherr International AG. The Liebherr Group would streamline and highlight the many divisions of the company while maintaining continuity. The management would be clear for the next generation, which would eventually take over for him. To this day, it is his family, a mix of second and third generation of doctors and businessmen and women that head the Liebherr Group and have a net worth of over 16 billion euros. In 1984, the company would begin to produce diesel engines, which they would then use in the manufacturing of their construction machines. This level of control and organization is exactly what has made them so long-lasting and powerful. The independence to provide and create everything in-house gives them so much more freedom and reliability than purchasing from another company and group. This maintains a high standard and quality of their products. The company's 40th anniversary was celebrated in 1988, and a review of their financials would reveal that they have built a model of positive, sustainable growth. At this point in time, they would already be worth well over $1.5 billion. This stable income allowed them to reinvest their massive profits right back into their plans to expand and continue to branch into new markets and create new innovations to compete with well-established companies and competitors. A change in management of the billion-dollar Liebherr Group would come with the death of the founder, Hans Liebherr, who had managed to keep responsibility and control over his company since its founding. The sad news of Hans Liebherr's death was announced on October 7th in the year 1993. He was only 78 years old when he passed, having dedicated his whole life to the running and building of his multi-billion-dollar company. His children would follow in his footsteps, managing their father's group and becoming entrepreneurial leaders in their own right. At the time of his death, the organization had over 15,000 employees and 46 different companies under its umbrella. If people thought that the death of this powerful and independent patriarch would signal a downturn in the company's good fortunes, they would be dead wrong. In fact, his children would quickly pick up where their father left off their joint venture in China in 1996. This was a wonderful time to be a customer of the Liebherr Group because this move and new management marked the beginning of expanding sales, service, and production in China. This meant that they were thinking strategically when moving into new areas and really trying to tap into places with greater potential. A great thing for customers who feared the quality or excellence would dip. The late 1990s would see them dipping into the heating and air conditioning markets. This would be nothing new for the company, as it has been growing as a competitor when it came to climate control tech since the 60s. At first, they had been delving into this for use in their aerospace sector, but success had them using this technology in brand new markets, For example, they would soon add heating and air conditioning for rail cars to their ever-growing range of product lines. When Liebherr created the Liebherr Meet Partner GmbH, it was in response to the growing demands for more machines. They were now able to rent equipment that included things like power generators, demolition tools, mini excavators, and compacting machines, just to name a few. A new and extremely useful service and product range to offer the many and varied customers across the world with different goals and funds. At 50 years old, one would expect the success and ambition to plateau, but the opposite is true for the Liebherr Group. This dynamic and energetic growth would see it become even more competitive on the international scale. But how did this new generation achieve this? They took a page right out of Hans Liebherr's book and put a significant amount of money into various investments. The biggest is their pooling of talent and expertise in the field of electronics. The creation of Liebherr Electronic GmbH in Germany would begin their operations in 2001. Liebherr Electronic would be high-tech and modern for its time, focusing on creating cutting-edge manufacturing electronic assemblies and systems for its products. The construction machines, mining equipment, various cranes, aircraft, and cars would all benefit from this new focus on bettering technological advances. A third of new employees during this period would all have specialized knowledge of hardware design and would be hired for the research and development department that would focus on aviation and industrial applications. This move was very wise, as the world would only increase its reliance on technology. In the year 2002, a huge change took place in the organization of the group. Led by Isolde and Willy Liebherr, the previous organization based on the country would be supplanted by the new product area-based structure. Why did they do this? The simple answer is that this would make sure that each of the product areas would have the resources and autonomy to act as their own business units. It would also make it easier for new technology to be incorporated into the products that would be beneficial to their respective markets. In a 5-year span that started in 2003 and then ended in 2008, would be a period of record-breaking growth for the company. This is when profits almost doubled for the company, taking them to a net worth of 8.4 billion euros. This golden era for the company was an opportunity for them to reinvest in themselves once again, and they did. A huge chunk of that money, almost 3 billion euros of it, was funneled into already established sites and the construction of new production facilities. In the same period of time, their sales and service organizations, which run parallel to the manufacturing companies, would expand and create almost 12,000 new jobs all around the world. Liebherr Group's unprecedented success has found a way to share its achievement with the rest of the world in one form or another. Their strategic and intentional decision-making is a strong callback to Hans Liebherr's book of business practices. This golden period was also marked by their versatility and the continuous diversification of their portfolios. Some of their diversification led them to new places every year, like in 2004, with the gear-cutting machines for the Indian market. Bangalore would see the opening of the Liebherr Machine Tools India Purivit Limited, which would assemble machines and sell and distribute them in the Indian market. In North China, Liebherr would open a new earth-moving machine company, and the crawler excavators and wheel loaders demanded by the local market would now also be produced there. The year 2005 would see an upswing in the production of maritime cranes in the Baltic, as Liebherr MC-Tech Rostock GmbH would build a factory for all kinds of cranes. In the same year, aviation systems in Brazil would see Liebherr Aerospace Brazil Ltda be established in Guaratingueta, which would specialize in air management systems and landing gear. 2007 would mark the beginning of the Malaysian-based Liebherr Appliances Kluang SDN, which would manufacture refrigerators and freezers. All of these accomplishments would be seen as nothing short of full successes, seeming to draw a picture of invincibility around the group. However, it would be the years of 2008 and 2009 that would truly put the company and leadership to the test. These were the years when the global markets were undergoing a severe recession and many businesses were crashing left and right. 2008 was the year when Liebherr Werk Ehingen GmbH was commissioned to make large parasols for a pilgrimage site in Saudi Arabia. The company, which has a firm background in engineering and design in its roots, would make 15-meter-high umbrellas with the use of their famous cranes. To make sure these massive and heavy umbrellas would be easy to use, they would install a hydraulic cylinder to unfold the roof and raise it another 5 meters above the ground. A beautiful and impressive sight when one takes into account that 250 of these screens were made to shield 800 visitors from the sun and heat. This commission, which seemed simple on the outside, was another way Liebherr was able to show their expertise, craftsmanship, and technology to be a cut above the rest. Their adherence to excellence and planning can be seen when one recalls how their workforce fared in comparison to others in similar industries. Their workers kept their jobs amidst a terrifying and dark time in the economy. While they did see a drop in profits, they did not behave in any kind of cost-cutting way, seeing the state of the depression as a temporary loss. They would be proven correct about this slump in the markets, as a year later they would mark a 10% growth in positive turnover. This masterful maneuvering would only further illustrate the deep understanding and experience this family has when it comes to reading the moods and fluctuations of the economy and business world. In the year 2011, another company would be established by the Liebherr Group, the Liebherr Mining Equipment Colmar SAS in France. Simultaneously, the entrance of the third generation of Liebherr into the family business would happen at the management level of the business. The Liebherr Mining Equipment Colmar SAS would focus on growing and developing a center for mining excavators. The company can be seen manufacturing hydraulic excavators since the 60s, but this new business would also focus on making machines for surface mining, where before they were more based on tunneling equipment. Their lack of fear when approaching new avenues or parallel business ventures is a credit to them and the remarkable management of their resources. They would finally enter the markets in Russia, opening a production site in Dzerzhinsk. The year 2011 saw them building tower cranes, earth-moving machines, as well as components for flight control and actuation systems for the aerospace industry here. In a blend of personal and professional, 2012 is a year where the Liebherr Group gives the public a look into how they operate when owners of the group transfer shares to their children. The third generation of the Liebherr family would come under the spotlight with Jan Liebherr, Stephanie Wolfarth, Sophie Albrecht, and Patricia Roof joining the management team and claiming shares in the business. They would work with their grandparents, Dr. Willi and Dr. Isolde Liebherr, who would guide them as they will one day take over managing individual areas of the company in the future. This is very important as it underscores the determination the Liebherr Group has to stick to its values as a family-run company and brand. A strong dynasty in an age where most things seem temporary or insubstantial. 2012 is a massive year for Liebherr, as it becomes a complete provider of concrete technology, whether it means mixing, transporting, pumping, or more. They have mobile and stationary mixing plants, components for every mixer one could think of. Whatever it has to do with mixing concrete, Liebherr will have more than 5 decades of experience with it. This year they would include concrete pumps to their massive portfolio. When they took over Weitzinger Baumaschinen GmbH, they became a threat to all other concrete technology providers on an international level. Later this year, they would see expansion in their production factories in Lindenburg. The Liebherr Aerospace Division would be the extension of their German site. Their goal was to expand and add another 30 to 40,000 meters to their plant. They would also expand the Liebherr machines Boulay in Switzerland. The 2015 Central Logistics Center near southern Germany supplies spare parts for different Liebherr machines, and it also serves as a storage facility for those parts in order to supply and address the needs of its many companies around the world. 2015 was also a year when a brand new generation of refrigerators and freezers with Blue Performance was introduced. Introduced on their website with the following quote, they describe how their new Blue Performance range is characterized by premium quality materials, craftsmanship in every detail, and precision touchscreen electronic controls. The increased space in the refrigerator is very notable, as there is room for every beverage and food group under the sun in their refrigerators. They also note how much more efficient, quiet, and even beautiful they are. This year saw them elevate their technology and designs with the mobile harbor crane LMH-800 in Russia, which is said to be the largest of its kind in the entire world. This crane is a marvel of engineering that only Liebherr could manufacture. It is able to lift over 300 tons and makes handling large cargo ships easy. The boom is a length of 64 meters, which makes it able to load and unload ships with a width of 22 rows of containers. It can move 2,300 tons per hour. The Liebherr Aerospace and Rolls-Royce venture of 2015 was one of the books, and they collaborated on a project called the Aerospace Transmission Technologies, GmbH. Their goal is to make a new ultra-fan engine design for Rolls-Royce, which can transform enough power to equal over 500 cars. The year 2016 would have them introducing the refrigerator of the future, which was designed with Microsoft. This new tech would make food management easy and offer a new level of convenience. This year also saw them hosting an interesting table tennis match, which took place within a mining truck at a trade show in Munich. The same year, they helped construct the tallest building in Europe, the Lachta Tower, and the completion of the Elbphilharmonie Concert Hall in Hamburg. They also erected an offshore crane in Rostock, equipped San Francisco with hydraulic steering springs for their trams, and opened up tunneling construction segments with specialized thrust bearings. Their creative marketing and fun spirit, coupled with their awe-inspiring design, is only possible by a company as powerful as the Liebherr Group. Looking at their most recent activities, starting in 2022, is very illuminating and gives us a look into what path they are charting for the future. That year's highlight took place in Bauma, where Liebherr presented around 100 exhibits on the showgrounds, allowing visitors to discover the many innovations and advancements in the fields of construction, machinery, cranes, mining, and more. They also presented Liebherr's first hydraulic excavator powered by a hydrogen engine, a huge milestone for them. They won the 2022 Bauma Innovation Award for Climate Protection. 2023 saw Liebherr at North America's biggest construction trade show in Las Vegas. The ConExpo trade show had visitors from over 133 countries gathered to experience 30 Liebherr exhibits. This year also saw a record amount of crane deliveries made, when they reached 2,000 cranes sold in a year, made all the more special as it was sold to a loyal customer, MaxiCraft. This year also saw Liebherr deliver the world's first actuators for primary flight control. It began the road to autonomous mining trucks in Western Australia. It was also a year of record investment for expansion and the opening of many new sites. Finally, the year of 2024 marks the 75th anniversary of the Liebherr Group. They are celebrating this milestone with over 50,000 employees in over 50 countries. An incredible transformation for a company that went from a local business to a global titan of industry. Hans Liebherr was an incredible man who excelled in his role as a father, businessman, and inventor. He set up his company and his family to succeed by instilling in them valuable lessons about independence and consideration. Not only did this small family-owned company survive multiple generations, but it has managed to grow its success with each new year. This globally powerful group is truly a family, marking it as one of the most influential and important in the world, whether the general population realizes that or not. One incredible life journey and story of triumph that will always be remembered is that of the Liebherr Group. If you enjoyed this content, please remember to like, subscribe, and share with a friend. Let us know in the comments down below what you feel is Hans Liebherr's greatest contribution and what you think of this family's place in history. Turn on notifications so you never miss a video or update. Thank you for watching.